All right, testing 1, 2, 3, 4. Testing 1, 2. Let me just check the audio here real quick to make certain everything is where it needs to be. For those of you who are just joining us, we are coming up live here. It is just about 10 until 10 o'clock Eastern Time on a Friday evening. And let me just double check this audio. That sounds good. Okay, and remember, I'm doing everything here myself, so it takes a little bit of time to make certain that everything is where it needs to be before we go too far. Friday night, little if anything going on at this point, but again, we are going to be seeing some very active weather coming up here in the course of about the next 24 hours or so, expected to start into tomorrow, and that is where we are going to run into problems. All right, audio sounds good. We are good to go on YouTube and Twitch, so have to officially welcome you to News 12. Thanks for joining us. I'm Chief Meteorologist Austen Onek, and keeping you updated with what is going on in the forecast for this area. Coming to you from Chattanooga, Tennessee. Information down below. Our website, wdef.com/weather. And my email address down that direction as well, in case you have any questions on there. If you have any questions otherwise, please drop them into our YouTube chat and or into our Twitch TV chat as well. That, again, is how to get in contact with us here. We're watching what looks to be, again, a very active pattern shaping up as we go into the next 48 hours. Again, it's Friday night. Past midnight, things should be quiet, and until about midday on Saturday, that's when the precipitation is expected to head our direction. If you're looking in the lower left-hand corner of the screen, you may see, again, the forecast and the information about what's going on, clouds and radar information starting off here, and you can see that we have the beginnings of this next storm system rolling up from the Gulf of Mexico, moving moisture-rich air on top of the cold air, and that can spell a very big amount of problems if the conditions are right, and it looks like it is going to be into the course of the next couple of days. So we'll tell you more about that in the forecast in just a little bit. Again, comments, just say hi and where you're from in the comments section. Glad to have you along and to see what's going on. Do a quick extracurricular here. We haven't had a chance to do this too much because of all the real world weather going on. This is real world, yes, but again, not exactly the immediacy of the winter storm. So a quick check of the picture of the day brought to you by HEP Heating. Thanks a lot to News 12 viewer Linda Parks from Decatur for a beautiful pastel view. Not sure if it's sunrise or sunset, but a glorious picture there. Thanks a lot for sending that along. If you've got pictures, again, we would love to see what you're seeing out there. The view from the Chattanooga Aquarium downtown on Aquarium Way. The parking lot empty and the buildings of the aquarium back here, and the occasional car traveling by for this evening that you can see with downtown Chattanooga very much on the quiet side. If you have pictures, let's see them. Again, email them to us, drop them to our social media pages, or again, go to our main weather window headquarters at wdef.com/photos. I think it's called Burger Republic. It's right across the street from the aquarium. They have excellent shakes, burgers, fries. If you've never been there, some dynamically good stuff out there. We have to see if they would like to be our official sponsor. Unofficially sponsored, again, by Chloe's Giant Cookies. Chloe was my former producer from our last station in Memphis, and she started a giant cookie selling business during the pandemic, and it has taken off like a rocket. Chloe was just on Next Level Baker with Gordon Ramsay, and she did a wonderful job on there. So if you want to taste some of these cookies, chloesgiantcookies.com. I heartily recommend the cookie called the Tipsy George. If you've never had that one is absolutely excellent. All right, let's go ahead and get into things and show you a little bit more about what we're going to be looking at for tonight and or otherwise. Quick view into and around the area. I think we have the downtown cam set up. Yes, looking back toward the Hamilton County Courthouse, downtown Chattanooga from the EPB Fiber Optics WeatherCam network, looking northeast toward the dome and the spires and flagpoles of downtown, where again it is chilly at the airport. We're back in the lower 40s, but we're not seeing anything in the way of really powerfully cold air. That will be happening as we go into the course of the next couple of days. So getting set for, again, some very chilly numbers coming our direction. Currently, as of just about 10 o'clock, we are not getting anything in the way of precipitation. It's very dry across the area and expected to be that way into, again, around mid to late morning on Saturday. There's just really not a lot going on for right now, but that will change as we go into tomorrow, as we see our latest storm system come together. It is already starting to develop down across the Gulf of Mexico. You're watching this system right around the Rio Grande, western Gulf of Mexico, starting to push moisture on top of all that cold air, and we're already seeing snow, freezing rain, sleet from New Mexico, West Texas, through the Red River Valley up to around Little Rock, now reaching its way into the mid-south, into the Mississippi Delta area, and that's going to continue. Again, pink is rain mixed with or changing over to snow or sleet or freezing rain. Blue indicates, again, where we're looking at the potential of snowfall, and the green, of course, is just the plain rainfall. This storm system is going to be lifting its way up to the north and to the east, and that, again, is going to be where our problems really start going into around Saturday. For tonight, there's really not that much happening, but signs of things to come. Temperatures, again, right about just above freezing across much of the News 12 viewing area. Single digits up around Missouri, 3 degrees at Lambert Field in St. Louis. That cold air is on its way, and it's going to be assisted by the snowfall that we're going to be expecting back to our north. Watches, advisories, etc. In the purple shaded areas, the counties up along the North Carolina line and northeast Alabama in the News 12 viewing area counties, DeKalb and Jackson County, Monroe and Polk County here, right on up through Blount, Sevier, Cock, and Washington. That is where the winter weather advisory is currently in effect. Again, that is issued for the potential of a variety of winter weather. Again, that could include just about anything in the way of freezing rain, sleet, and snow. Imminent winter weather in the winter storm warning area. In the pink, that includes Grundy County, Tennessee, which is under the jurisdiction of the National Weather Service in Nashville, which has issued this winter storm warning to alert the public that rapidly changing and deteriorating conditions will be happening within about the next 12 hours or so. This, again, the plateau and Middle Tennessee will be seeing, again, the worst potential for the variety of winter weather, heavier snowfall, and possibly some heavy combinations of sleet and freezing rain into the higher elevations of southern Middle Tennessee and northeast Alabama. Now, that, again, relatively old news. This has been sticking around for a while. This was just issued earlier today, and this is rare, but when it is issued, it is definitely something to pay attention to. This is an ice storm warning that, again, we don't see this too often. When you do, you know that there is a serious situation taking place that we need to pay attention to. And again, we have in these purple shaded counties, which again includes Hamilton County and the Chattanooga area proper, right up to I-40, Cherokee County in western North Carolina, and all of the northern third of Georgia, basically under this ice storm warning, which means this area here could see the worst in the way of freezing rain and sleet. There may only be as much as 1/10 of an inch when it comes to freezing rain and sleet, and that's, you got to admit that it's not much, but it doesn't take much for that to start causing roadways to become skating rinks, and that's where you start slipping and sliding, and that's where travel can become almost impossible. It's possible that this will be issued for other counties as conditions worsen, we may see it canceled. Again, these winter weather scenarios can go just about either way right up to the arrival of the storm. So it's something that we need to watch with a lot of interest. So again, this is what we're going to be keeping an eye on. This is what it looks like, again, from the regional area. This amount of winter weather from New Mexico and the Four Corners area all the way back to around New England, to where we have winter storm watches, extreme cold warnings all the way up into Maine. But in the meantime, we have ice storm warnings from Texas to southern middle Tennessee, southeast Tennessee, the Carolinas, northern Georgia, and in these purple shaded areas here, that is where we may be looking at the potential of what could be nearly impassable conditions. Again, it all depends on how much moisture we pick up in here. There's always the possibility that we could get some dry air moving on through, and that could erode the possibility of more moisture. If that happens, we won't pick up as much in the way of precipitation. That's, again, what happens with these conditions out there, and something to be prepared for is the fluctuation in amounts and types of precipitation. So it is possible that we could see a lot different conditions out there. Here's the way the forecast shapes up. Again, for tonight, not expecting too much to happen. As we get into tomorrow, that warm air starts its run off the Gulf of Mexico, and we start to see potential of some of that frozen and or freezing precipitation back to our south and west, and that'll keep moving our direction. I think most of that is going to be arriving into midday and afterwards, especially as the temperatures will be at or below freezing. Notice the temperature difference here: below freezing in Chattanooga, above freezing in Atlanta and Birmingham. So we're going to get rain in some locations before it starts freezing again, and some of this warm air will be falling into freezing temperatures. That's where we're going to wind up with the problems, again, with the potential of some skating rinks out there. Higher elevations will get the best potential for freezing rain and sleet first. So Signal Mountain, Lookout Mountain, the Appalachians into the plateau, you're going to be seeing the problems first and foremost, as this system, or the last couple of days, this system was expected to scoot right along the East Coast, and we were going to be getting a lot more snowfall. Now, as we go into Saturday night and Sunday morning, this system is going to be rocketing northward, which is going to push that warm, moist air up our direction, and that's going to change freezing rain and sleet to rainfall. And on the other side of this is that moisture curves back around again and comes down into this much colder air. That is where we're going to see the worst of the worst when it comes to the ice storm potential out there. A lot of these areas south of Little Rock, Greenville, the rest of the Mid-South, north of Jackson, Mississippi, Oxford, Tupelo, could be looking at widespread power outages. We could see that here, but the worst of which, starting off, will be back to our west and then moving our way. Now into Saturday night, Sunday morning, that system continues to work its way northward, but as we wind up on the backside of this system, that's where the cold air starts working its way in, and any precipitation that comes in will have to deal with that much colder air, and that is where we could see going into Sunday night, the chances of precipitation will be dwindling. We could pick up some snowfall on the backside of this. Again, our chances for snow are basically pretty much almost out the window at this point. We may pick up some snow to begin with tomorrow morning, early afternoon, and on the tail end of this section, we may see, again, some snowfall on top of everything else if it makes its way down to the ground. And as temperatures plummet, it's a good possibility we will see that. Then we go into Monday morning. Temperatures in the teens, high temperatures on Monday, in some cases barely into the 20s, and then early Tuesday morning, this purple blue shaded area right there, that is the snowpack. That's the track of the storm system where the worst snowfall will be coming down. And as snow stacks up, once it gets to about 4 to 5 inches, it becomes its own refrigeration system. It may sound weird, but basically it keeps itself colder, and the cold air coming down from the north will be moving over this snowpack and heading our way. That's why it's going to get so much colder down our direction, including negative double digits up around Nashville, into Kentucky, parts of Tennessee, Indiana, Illinois, Missouri, below zero or near to zero temperatures. That is where we're going to be looking at the worst of the worst out there. But again, I would say that the potential of snowfall will be out there still with us. We're not going to get, again, a lot of it, but it is going to be a possible problem. Again, last couple of days, the best possibility of snow was more down our direction. But as we go into early tomorrow afternoon, as that moisture begins, the snowfall track is going to go north of us. We will get some snow to start off with, no question about that. But as we go into the end of this storm system, very early, late Sunday night, early Monday morning, notice again the blue kind of filling things in here. I would say early Monday morning, there could be some leftover snow showers out there to come down on top of that freezing rain and sleet and snow and rain mixture. There's a lot of stuff that's going to be happening here relatively soon. The most dangerous is going to be the potential of freezing rain. So that comes up our direction, moves our way, sticks around into, again, around portions of the area, piecemeal at first, but then as we go into Saturday night and early Sunday morning, it starts to stack up. And notice what happens down around Atlanta, back toward Greenville, 1/10 of an inch to 1/4 of an inch. If that pans out, and again, these forecast numbers will change. That's the way forecast models work. They are not carved in stone. They will fluctuate, so that's not meteorologists or scientists trying to lie to you. That's just the way the forecast works, to where we see the lowest potential, maybe about less than 1/10 of an inch at first, and then as much as 1/4 of an inch as we get into some sections of the area, especially northeast Georgia, Carolinas, and back into the plateau and northeast Alabama. This could cause roadways to become, again, skating rinks. So for right now, it's possible we'll see that start Saturday morning early, around Saturday afternoon. And then the potential sticks around as we go into early Monday morning. The temperatures will be cold enough to keep that moisture on the ground and locked in place. So that is where we will see the worst there. Add to that, as if we didn't need anything else to worry about, we're also seeing, again, the potential of ice pellets or sleet making their way into the area and, again, increasing to about 1/10 of an inch, which, again, is not much until you consider that it's enough for cars to crunch that down, mash it down, and become a skating rink on its own, just with the sleet pellets. Combine the sleet and the freezing rain, and we're talking about some pretty ugly traveling conditions out there. That should be relatively short-lived, coming to an end as we go into and around Saturday night, Sunday early afternoon, somewhere in there. But by then, the damage, so to speak, will have been done. That is where we're going to be seeing, again, the worst potential out there. I'm going to check the short-range models. I think we're not close enough. Looks like we are here. Looks like Saturday, right about noontime, the HRRR, the high-resolution rapid refresh model, as it's called, this is very good in the short term to tell you a little bit more about what's happening. And again, in the next 18 hours, it looks like roughly right about mid to late morning into about just after lunchtime. That's where we start to see the precipitation moving on through. Higher elevations will pick that up first and foremost, and then moving its way downward as the temperatures change on there. That is where we're going to be seeing the worst potential going on. Fog doesn't look to be a problem. Freezing fog doesn't look to be a problem for right now. See if I can find it here. Again, for ice accumulations, the Winter Storm Severity Index, or WSSI, showing that best potential for an ice storm from roughly the Tennessee River around Shiloh down into around central Mississippi. Again, we're talking about a 5 out of 5 potential. And as we get into Saturday night and Sunday, notice again, not much happening here, but right about northeast Alabama and into northern Georgia. That is where we see that potential, the worst of which in the red, and there's some purple right there into western North Carolina and extreme eastern, northeastern parts of Georgia. So that is, again, for Saturday, and then we go forward into Sunday. And again, that threat already here, but then wrapping around here, the higher elevations, some of these locations could be picking up some extreme amounts of ice, could be some very good amounts of power outages, again, could be some nearly impassable travel conditions into and around these areas. So that is something to consider. If you have anything that needs to get done, whether it's grocery store, running errands, getting things dropped off, picking things up tomorrow, I would say you've got until about roughly noon to get things done. Again, this storm has slowed down significantly in the last few days, so now it's arriving Saturday morning through Saturday afternoon. If you have plans to get out and about, do it before lunchtime on Saturday, because then we start to see more problems. This, again, could wind up being a pipsqueak. We may get a dusting of snow, a couple of sleet pellets, and no freezing rain whatsoever. It depends if dry air intrudes several thousand feet up and evaporates all that moisture. But right now, that appears to be a very slim chance, and that is why we are, again, telling everybody to make certain to pay attention to what may be going on in this particular location. Borrowing our sister CBS station's Country Club Plaza camera from KCTV5 in Kansas City, Missouri, Brush Creek and the Country Club Plaza over this direction. Great place to go to for shopping. Thanksgiving night, they turned the lights on the plaza. It's a really neat place to take a look at. And a real quick check from my hometown from the KDOT camera. Looks like we're starting to get some haze out there and maybe some snowflakes on the camera lens. That's I-70. Next stop that direction, pretty much Denver, Wanamaker Road, and about a quarter of a mile that way is my mom's house. So I'm very familiar with this area, and I usually keep an eye on this to see what the weather is doing up around that location. Again, travel up around this area could be compromised, and it looks like starting to get a lot of haze up there around Gage Boulevard as we look around I-70 close to the Kansas River. Most of the activity, I think, is going to be happening down toward Oklahoma City and Dallas. I don't have any of those cameras primed for right now, but that is going to be the area that we are watching for the time being. Let's go ahead and take a look at the 7-day forecast. View of the waxing crescent moon setting in the west, shining off Lake Chickamauga, and you can see some of that wind stirring the surface around tonight. Very beautiful. A little on the chilly side, though, with some of those winds and wind chills down in the 30s and 20s for this evening. Okay, so a lot to take into account here. So again, tomorrow I think we're going to be seeing temperatures just above freezing for a brief period of time, which means the snow, sleet, freezing rain mix could change over to around a rain-snow mixture somewhere in this area by about midday. Then the temperatures drop into around the lower 30s as we go into Sunday, which means what's falling from the sky goes from rain, snow, sleet, freezing rain mix, probably over to sleet and freezing rain. Again, depending on where that temperature profile wanders through. Closing things out, I think we will see the potential of snow showers late Sunday evening. It's going to be windy, and numbers are going to go from the 40s. We might make the 40s Sunday early afternoon before that cold air wraps around that system, and we wind up in the teens for Monday morning. It's going to be windy. It's going to be cold. Highs will not get above freezing on Monday, and then single-digit temperatures on Tuesday. Windy and temperatures just above freezing, finally crawling out of the deep freeze as we go into the rest of the week. It will be dry. Next best chance of rain or snow after that looks to be next weekend around the last weekend of January of 2026, and that should do it for any chance of rainfall and snow for, again, this particular period outside of what we are seeing here. So for right now, this is going to be the big story after this weather moves on through, especially right here as we get into and around the area of Tuesday morning. That is where, and I'm relatively certain at this point, I'm not recommending it because that is not my job, for the superintendents out there to keep an eye on things. I would say by early Monday morning, if there is school, This is going to be the wind chills you're going to have to deal with out there in the car rider line if there's still school. But because of that moisture out there, locked in place by those colder temperatures, it's a very good bet we'll see some very slick conditions remaining across the area as we get into and around the area of Monday morning. Now, not only that, but as we go again into and around the area of Tuesday, we're also seeing, and notice here, if this isn't cold enough for you, just wait. Let me move this forward to Tuesday morning at about 6 a.m., and we're looking at below zero wind chills and much colder back to the north with that air howling in out over that snowpack and getting cooled off very well. This is brutally cold weather. This is nothing you want to be standing outside in unprepared. Frostbite can occur very easily if you're not prepared for this. So if the kids are going to school on a morning like this, and it's, again, a lot of schools will probably be back in session come early next week, but this is what you're going to have to deal with as you get into the first couple of days out there. So would not be surprised to see not only cancellations, but probably some postponements out there. Would not be surprised to see that going on. So again, please be very careful. Be prepared for the change in weather. Know that this is on its way, and make certain, again, you're prepared for those very cold numbers. Excuse me. As we get into the early part of next week. I'm just getting over this nasty cold, which I've had for about the last week and a half. I'm done. I'm over it. I'm ready to be decently healthy again, and it's taking a while to get there. So, unfortunately, it's taking a little bit for that. Okay, I think that's pretty much it for the majority of everything. I want to remind you of a couple extracurricular things. If you'd like to participate in citizen science, there's an app you can download totally free. It's called MPing, Meteorological Phenomenon Identification Near the Ground. It's developed by NOAA, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, under the National Severe Storms Laboratory, or NSSL. That's where you can search and download NSSL MPing app. Totally free. What does it do? You take a look at what is falling down toward the surface, whether it's rain, sleet, snow, nothing whatsoever. That information can help researchers and meteorologists produce better forecasts by participating in what is called ground truth. Radar is very good for noticing precipitation forming and moving across an area. It cannot see down to the ground to see what is actually coming down. So that's where you come in. So the neat thing you can do this weekend is to notice the precipitation type and report that through the MPing app. It's called Citizen Science. You don't have to have a PhD to participate in science projects like this. Sometimes all you need is a pencil and a piece of paper, and there are thousands of citizen science projects out there. This is one of them. Your tax dollars, my tax dollars pay for this, so something to think about out there. Again, MPing is the name of the app. Please consider downloading that and participating in the studies out there. All right, want to remind you again, we are smack in the middle, believe it or not, even with all this going on, we are right in the middle of severe weather season. So we want to make certain everybody is prepared for it. Maybe you just moved here and you've never experienced severe weather before. Well, that's even more reason to become a Skywarn volunteer spotter. They're unpaid. They get trained by the National Weather Service, with the exception of the fact that recently the Department of Government Efficiency basically hamstringing the National Weather Service. For what reason we did this, I have no idea. Apparently, according to some certain projects, NOAA talks about climate change too much. It's too woke for them, and the best way to stop them is to cut off anybody who talks about climate change, which is occurring and which human beings are mostly responsible for. I don't work for NOAA. I can say stuff like that. So the one thing we've got a problem with now is that the Department of Government Efficiency and the current administration, which has wrecked the National Weather Service from the inside out, they have basically cheated the American people from being able to get meteorologists to go out and teach the weather program known as Skywarn. So Thankfully, a local amateur radio group, the Chattanooga Amateur Radio Club, is going to be conducting their own Skywarn training. This one will be coming up next weekend, as a matter of fact, 10 a.m. at the Harrison Community Center. It's totally free, but to get a head count and to be polite to know about how many people are showing up, please go to their website, W4AM Whiskey 4 Alpha Mike.net. I'm an amateur radio operator. Equipment like this can come in very handy for communicating either around the block or around the world. I got my license 25 years ago, so it's a really great hobby, and when all else fails, amateur radio works. That is really, it's more than just a catchphrase. It's absolutely true. It is not a dying hobby, and it is a great opportunity to help those in your community or around the world when disaster strikes. Even when storms like this come through, information can flow, especially if there is an interruption to regular media. That's how I hear about a lot of things going on out there, by using equipment just like this and other types of equipment as well. If you'd like to know more about becoming an amateur radio operator, this is a great opportunity. So go to W4AM.net and register for the class. They would love to see you. And the more Skywarn spotters we have out there and amateur radio operators, the more safe all of us will be to be able to have that talent out there. Now, National Weather Service Morristown just put this information out in the last couple of days. They will be having a Skywarn spotter training session about a month after the one I just told you about. This one will be held at the same place, Harrison Community Center in Harrison, Tennessee, Monday, February 26th at 6 p.m. Again, you can register for this. It's totally free. Your tax dollars, my tax dollars pay for this. Go to weather.gov/MRX. And please consider becoming an amateur radio operator. This is mainly for residents of Hamilton County and Chattanooga. But again, if you give them an idea as to how many people are coming, then they can plan ahead for other meetings if there are enough people to warrant another training session out there. So again, please consider that. Please also consider, again, becoming a Skywarn spotter. If you can't make the meetings, go online. The National Weather Service in Morristown has an online virtual Skywarn training session. It's on weather.gov/MRX. That's the three-letter code for the National Weather Service in Morristown. You get to learn about Skywarn, safety procedures, what to look for in storms, how to stay safe. That is very important. This is not a chasing course. This is a spotter course. If you want to be a chaser, great. Storm chasing starts here by knowing the safety procedures and how not to become, as Professor Emeritus Charles Doswell called them, storm chasing yahoos. Again, this is how to be safe, how to be informed, and to pay attention as to what is going on. I would really recommend this, and if you can't make the in-person meetings because of government efficiency or because your schedule doesn't allow, here's a great opportunity. Again, you can take the course wherever you have an internet connection. It's a great opportunity, again, to learn more about what is going on when it comes to severe weather safety. All right, I think that is just about going to do it. We've been on here for about a half an hour. That's not bad for us, especially when there's a ton of information coming our way. Again, for the rest of the forecast for tonight and into tomorrow, I really think we're not going to see much in the way of moisture tonight. We are going to see some colder weather coming our direction in the semi-near future, and that is really going to start setting up into about Sunday night and Monday, starting again roughly midday on Saturday and going into late Sunday. We do have again an ice storm warning in effect, and we also again have this variety of winter weather with temperatures above, below freezing. So we'll be seeing a fruit basket upset worth of all sorts of things. It also depends on your elevation, your topography. Signal Mountain, Lookout Mountain will probably get a lot more before it starts coming down to the river valley itself. That is very important to note. And again, if you have any plans for travel tomorrow, try to get it done before midday. Again, by the time you get back home again, when the stuff starts falling, it could be getting slick out there by the time we get into just after lunchtime. So this is going to be absolutely imperative to get stuff done. Stay off the roadways as much as possible. If you must travel into this weekend, Saturday and Sunday, try to find the most level route possible. And again, with the topography around here, sometimes that's not a possibility, but you want to try to stay as level as possible. Biggest slope you have, if it's too slick, you're going to lose traction. Likewise, coming down slope, don't go too fast, and if you can, avoid any big slopes like the one from around Highway 27 at Morrison Springs Road. That thing is very steep, and if you go out of control, that's going to be a pretty ugly situation, especially if there are other cars around your area. So again, if you can avoid travel, please do so. Hunker down at home. Try not to travel unless absolutely necessary. If you do, again, flat as much as possible roadways so you don't have to deal with those slopes and swales and everything. And again, if you have to travel, if it takes you 15 minutes to usually get to where you're going, work or church or anything else, triple that. If it's 15 minutes usually, take 45 minutes. I'm being very serious about this, because if you go rushing around on this type of roadway, you may get 5 minutes out the door, have a wreck, run off the roadway, and then you're going to have to find some way to stay warm and to get back home or to where you were going in the midst of all of this. And if you can avoid that by staying home, so much the better. Really great. I got an opportunity to stick around home just to make certain you can stay safe and to stay off those roadways. I grew up in Kansas learning how to drive on stuff like this. It's not for everybody. And again, if you've never done it before, maybe you just moved here from very warm areas, Florida, Southern California, Southern Texas. Maybe you've never dealt with this weather before. This is not really the great opportunity to practice, especially in these areas with switchback roads, high elevations to low elevations. Really not the best opportunity to, again, practice on stuff like this. Again, staying home, out of the traffic patterns. For those of you who went to the store and brought home bread, milk, and eggs, why people do that, I have no idea. I mean, if you want to make French toast with that, okay, fine, that's great. Oh, and before anybody emails me, may I just remind everybody that for those of you who are going to accuse me of being part of the grocery store meteorologist winter storm conspiracy, let me reassure you that I have never been invited to that party before in my entire life, and don't expect to be either, because it doesn't exist. It's a neat conspiracy theory, but that's basically all it is right there. All right, that should do it for tonight. We've been on for nearly 40 minutes. Thanks to everybody for stopping by and checking in on Twitch and YouTube. We do appreciate it. We'll have updates through the weekend as necessary, assuming everything goes a little bit better according to plan on weather. News 12's Russell Stroud will be here for the updates on News 12 at 11 Saturday and Sunday. And assuming he can get here with the roadways hopefully in better shape by Monday morning, News 12's Chip Chapman will have details on the forecast coming up on the morning show Monday morning starting at 5 a.m. In the meantime, as Sergeant Phil used to say out there, let's be careful out there. We're going to need to do, again, a lot of being weather aware and watching what goes on down the roadway, and if possible, staying home. All of these numbers that I've shown you will fluctuate. We could get more snow, less freezing rain. We could get a bunch of sleet and no snow whatsoever. It just kind of depends. That's the way these winter weather scenarios work. So once again, begging everybody to take it easy, be weather aware, and again, please be safe out there. When this starts falling, this is going to start getting dangerous. And again, you don't want to be stuck out someplace. If you don't have to get out, it's going to be much better for you to be stuck at home and stay there until all of this is over with. Again, this is kind of a shelter-in-place type situation without it being a national emergency. But it is going to be, again, pretty ugly if the conditions materialize with an ice storm, you really don't want to be messing around and taking it just as seriously as any threat of severe weather. So again, please keep that in mind. Questions, concerns, email address at the bottom of the screen, our website as well. We'll have more information again through the weekend as necessary, so keep it tuned to News 12 on air and online. Russell Stroud's got your forecast Saturday and Sunday evening, and Chip will be back on Monday, and I'll be here as conditions warrant, so stay tuned for more with News 12. I'm Chief Meteorologist Austen Onek on our live exclusive video weather blog, Weather Overtime. Stay tuned for much more with News 12 through the weekend on air and online. Thanks for joining us, and please stay safe out there.